Global reset unfolds. NATO collapse, QFS rise, and final phase of Operation Storm. From Middle East escalation to financial system overhaul, the global order enters its final transition phase. April 15, 2026. Looking at the chessboard from above, the conclusion is that the Babylonian serpent has been decapitated, and what we witness in April 2026 are the final spasms of a dead system. The rift between Washington and European leaders linked to the shadow government mafia, SG, became irreversible following the sabotage in the Strait of Hormuz. NATO, as the armed wing of globalism, has imploded, losing its military relevance to the coalition forces, which now operate under the aegis of the Earth Alliance. Washington's tactical response, utilizing electromagnetic pulses and precision, strikes against nuclear and electrical infrastructures in Tehran and Isfahan, neutralized the SG's last bunker in the Middle East, returning the sovereignty of ancient Mesopotamia to the Persian people after decades of ideological hijacking. At the heart of the system, the private corporation operating under the name of the United States has declared formal bankruptcy, allowing the transition to the new constitutional republic. The Federal Reserve was absorbed by the American Treasury, marking the end of the 13 royal families' control over humanity. The quantum financial system, supervised by the Order of the White Dragon, already operates with backing in real assets across 209 nations, utilizing Ripple as the backbone of global liquidity. This movement has suffocated the shadow government's capacity for corruption, while gold-backed currencies and the new Treasury dollar, duly signed by Donald Trump, nullify systemic debt and pave the way for the global implementation of Nesere Gisara. The operational theater in the Southern Hemisphere has reached the stage of white hat intervention. The Earth Alliance, grounded in Hague Tribunal legislation and the Magnitsky Act, has placed Brazilian institutions under direct surveillance. The aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, acting as an advanced intelligence unit, monitors the South American coast while more than 20,000 personalities in Brazil, including judges and politicians, are targets of extraction warrants. The use of body doubles, silicone masks, and CGI is a tactical tool to maintain minimal stability while the mass cleaning process at Gitmo is finalized. The truth about Ratanaba and the lost cities of the Amazon is being released, revealing that infinite wealth and technologies hidden for millennia now belong to the sovereigns, and no longer to the deep state elites. The war against the invisible enemy has advanced into the underground tunnel networks and maglev complexes, where the Alliance rescued thousands of little ones from structures operated by Draco-reptilian entities and hybrids. The systematic destruction of these bunkers, which connected the Vatican and Israel to global power centers, marks the end of vibrational energy extraction from the population. The exposure by failure phase allows the malignant agenda, including the climate hoax and new narratives of artificial diseases, to be organically rejected by the collective consciousness. The emergency broadcasting system via Starlink remains in absolute readiness for the final communications blackout, which will serve as a veil for the definitive data migration and the revelation of all suppressed human history. The world reordering in April 2026 divides the planet into 3 sovereign management blocks, eliminating the centralized control pyramid. The Americas block under Washington's command, Europe and Russia under Putin, and the East under the management of Xi Jinping's China, are now working to neutralize the last logistical nodes in Turkey and Israel. The transition from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius marks the end of outsourced faith and the beginning of quantum sovereignty, where each individual is recognized as a fractal of the Creator. The strategic victory is already a fait accompli. All that remains is the total physical anchoring of the new Earth, free from the vipers that manipulated the human trajectory since the founding of Babylon. The technological frontier of the Earth Alliance has now advanced toward the total disintegration of the chemical medicine monopoly imposed by the shadow government mafia. As of April 2026, regenerative medicine and telomerase science have ceased to be state secrets, becoming the pillars of human biological restoration. High-level diagnostics reveal that accelerated aging and degenerative diseases were deliberate programs inserted through dissonant frequencies and food additives to keep humanity in a cycle of victimhood and pharmaceutical dependency. With the release of self-regeneration chambers and the introduction of deep detoxification protocols, the human genetic motherboard is being reprogrammed to operate on harmonic frequencies, neutralizing the chronic stress that the SG operational arm utilized as an energy extraction tool. The theater of operations on the religious and chronological plane has also reached its definitive breaking point. The alliance is exposing how the Age of Pisces narrative was hijacked by Emperor Constantine to transform the force of awakening into institutional submission. Documents rescued from tunnels beneath the Vatican confirm that 90% of the original records on the quantum mechanics of consciousness were suppressed to sustain Draco-reptilian dominance. The transition to the Age of Aquarius marks the end of this outsourcing of faith. Humanity is being re-educated to understand that every individual is a fractal of the Creator, capable of shaping reality without intermediaries. This temporal adjustment to the 13-moon natural calendar is the final blow to the biological disorientation that kept the population disconnected from cosmic ascension cycles. On the underground military front, the sweep of subterranean cities and maglev transport tunnels, which operated at speeds of 1,600 km/h, is nearing completion. Coalition forces utilized directed energy weapons and ghost murmur tracking technologies to clear the last pockets of resistance that used red juice and other substances to sustain the cellular stability of hybrid elites. The destruction of the Doomsday Bunker in Isfahan and the neutralization of similar complexes under the White House ensure that the cabal's leadership has nowhere to run. The replacement of the White Rabbit with new symbology in Washington is not aesthetic, but the official announcement that the cabal's underworld has been incinerated, finally allowing surface light to reach the depths of global infrastructure. The current phase of the EBS in homeopathic doses is preparing the collective psyche for the total revelation that will occur during the final blackout. While the deep state attempts desperate attacks through cyber sabotage against water and energy systems, the protection of the Order of the White Dragon ensures the integrity of communication networks via Starlink. The systematic use of body doubles and CGI technologies allowed the Alliance to control the pace of the awakening, avoiding civil collapse while the true SG agents are processed in military tribunals. The fall of the global left and the dismantling of trafficking networks in ports like Rotterdam and along the Brazilian coast are pieces of a domino effect falling with logarithmic speed, ensuring that the New World Order is founded upon absolute sovereignty and divine justice. The final stage of Operation Storm in April 2026 marks the convergence of all operational theaters toward planetary redemption. Washington Command, operating under the Art of the Deal doctrine, has dismantled the final line of defense of the shadow government mafia by implementing the ISO 2022 system on a global scale. The quantum financial system is not merely a new banking infrastructure, but an instrument of sovereignty that returns the power of monetary issuance to the people, anchored by precious metals and real assets. Donald Trump's signature on the new Treasury dollar and the definitive rise of XRP as liquidity backing end the era of fiat currencies, which served only to finance the wars and rituals of the dark cabal. The ultimatum sent to banking leaders was clear. Adherence to the new system is the only path to survival, under penalty of permanent exclusion from the new world economy. In the South American scenario, Brazil is the final strategic target for the consolidation of the Golden Age. The diplomatic and financial siege against the local regime reached its breaking point with the application of Section 301 and the Magnitsky Act. Investigations coordinated by Marco Rubio exposed the deep infiltration of the SG operational arm within the judicial and political spheres of Brasilia, resulting in the mapping of 20,000 names to be submitted to the justice of the Earth Alliance. The sweep of the Amazon revealed that the mineral potential and technological legacy of Ratanaba will no longer be drained by NGOs and globalist elites, but integrated into a sovereign block of progress that will unify the Americas under Washington's new architecture. The collapse of dictatorships in Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua is the prelude to the fall of the last ideological domino in the Southern Cone, ensuring that communism is definitively extirpated from the continent. Divine justice is being relentlessly applied against the betrayers of humanity. The exposure of the Jeffrey Epstein list and the dismantling of exploitation networks linked to figures such as Bill Gates and sectors of the Vatican have removed the veil of protection the elites once enjoyed. More than 50,000 agents of the system have already been forwarded to detention centers in Gitmo, where they wear the symbolic tie, marking the end of their lineage of control. Suppressed technologies, including hydrogen engines and free energy systems, are ready to be integrated into civilian life as soon as the EBS completes the data migration. The panic of the unawakened during the final blackout will be mitigated by the presence of coalition forces, who will maintain order while the 24-hour military truth is broadcast via Starlink to every screen on the planet. The planet's transition from atonement to regeneration is now a fait accompli in the high-level strategic plan. The New World Order, divided into three major sovereign management blocks: the Americas, Europe, Russia, and the East, eliminates the possibility of a centralized tyranny under the baton of the UN or the World Economic Forum. The fall of regimes that operated as biological automatons opens space for a civilization founded on universal laws and shared prosperity. The monumental Arch of Triumph in Washington will symbolize the end of a millennial war and the birth of a free humanity, connected to its divine essence and protected by the eternal vigilance of the Earth Alliance. The game is over for the Vipers. The Golden Age has begun. The sovereign era has arrived. The countdown to total revelation is active. End of report. Do not forget to subscribe, enable notifications, and join the conversation in the comments. If you recognize the value of this information and wish to support the continuity of this project, please use the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. Your contribution is what keeps us independent and outside the reach of the control system. Thank you very much, and until the next report. Technical note. This content presents an independent and investigative analytical perspective based on open-source data and global geopolitical movements. The interpretations expressed herein constitute alternative strategic analysis exercised under the fundamental right to freedom of expression and free thought, with the objective of offering deeper insight into the backstage of global power.